Stephen Overby, who ran a campaign for District 1 Commissioner and successfully won, beat the incumbent David Quinn. Stephen, are you there?
I am here, Mike. It is good to be with you, my friend.
Good to be with you as well. First off, congratulations on the victory. I know you worked hard during the campaign. It seemed like an endless early voting period, but I understand you and some of your supporters were at the early voting polling site in western Carteret. Do you think that had bearing on your victory? What do you think brought you across the finish line ahead of Mr. Quinn?
Absolutely. Working the polls is imperative to win an election like that. When you have an early voting period of 2.5 weeks, and the polls were open 8 o'clock in the morning to 7:30 at night every day, so not wanting to miss a voter, myself and several dedicated friends and supporters were at the polls every second they were open, just having conversations with voters, hearing their concerns, and making one final pitch before they went in to vote. And we came out on top, and I'm really humbled by the results, and I'm ready to get to work. But, like you said in my introduction, I got to wait until December to get sworn in, but I'm excited.
Yeah, so you don't have a challenger in the general election, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. The filing period was in December, just a couple months ago, and myself and the current Commissioner David Quinn were the only two that filed. We're both Republicans, so we faced off in the Republican primary, and I'll have no general election opponent, but I still have to be on the ballot in November.
You'll be on the ballot, and I mean, so somebody might say, well, why is he going to have to campaign? Are we going to see Overby for commissioner signs on the roadways? The election now expands throughout the entire county, whereas before you were just focused with eligible voters in District 1, correct? So why do you have to go out and campaign, as it were? And you said your name's on the ballot, even though you have the spot, but it's just not officially yet.
Right. Well, I don't want to take anything for granted, and I still want to meet citizens across the county, because, like you said, in the primary, the election is just in your district, people that can vote for you, but that expands across the county in the general election. So I want to meet people in Morehead City, Beaufort, all areas of the county, and hear their concerns. And I still want them to feel like I'm going to be their voice once I take office.
Well, you are from District 1, so you know the people that live there, and you like you said, you were at the polling places for the early voting for 2.5 weeks, listening to voter concerns. What did you hear during that period of time, and what do you feel are the needs throughout the entire Carteret County that you, as an elected official, as a commissioner, will try to take on once you are sworn in?
Well, I heard everything from overcrowding in the roads, the schools, the athletic fields down here in Western Park. But the biggest thing, the reoccurring theme that I heard, was when I approached a voter, they said the property taxes were out of control. The reevaluation process, they don't understand it, because they're paying taxes on a value that is unrealized, and that is mandated by the state that the county conduct that property reevaluation, but the county chose not to go revenue neutral. So that was a big concern for the voters. Of
course, it's a pocketbook issues always drive the voters' interest. And there are some big ticket items down the road for Carteret County. I know one of them being discussed for years now is the county jail. What's your thoughts? I know there's already been property purchased for proposed jail. What's the state of the jail right now? What are they thinking about? Do you have any ideas about the future jail?
Well, in reading the meeting minutes and discussions that have taken place, because a lot of the things in relation to the jail have been put on the consent agenda, so they haven't really been discussed in public forum. But from what I've read, they've acquired property on Highway 70, just a few miles from East Carteret, going out further east. And they got a $5 million grant from the state, thanks to Representative Celeste Cairns, and they have done architectural design, and they've got all of the design in place to move forward. But the funding is going to be an issue. I think the funding is anywhere between anywhere between $60 to $80 million. And my concern is where is the plan to pay for that, because obviously if the jail is overcrowded right now, it hasn't just been an issue that popped up overnight. So it seems like there could have been an issue of us kicking the can down the road. But when I really looked into it, I saw that the county actually purchased the Beaufort Ice Company several years back on the corner of like Craven and Broad Street, I think it is, and they were going to use that to expand, use that site to expand the jail facility at its current site. But I think they've kind of went in another direction, and I don't know why, because like I said, it wasn't discussed in public forum. Maybe it makes sense to go out and acquire the new property and start all over from step one. But I think those questions need to be answered so we can see which is the most cost-effective way to move forward to address the needs of the jail. And when I look at the issue of the funding, I remember the school board had a bond referendum to address like the growth in the schools, because if you put like an issue like that where you're spending millions of dollars out on a bond for the voters to decide to get community support, the lenders see it as a reduced risk because you have community support and you get a better interest rate. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't done with the jail. Maybe that's something we can do if we actually do, move forward with this, which it seems like they will, because they've already secured $5 million and bought the land. So it's going to be a big issue moving forward, and it's going to be interesting.
Well, it's going to be interesting too, because we mentioned pocketbook issues drive voters, but so too does safety, and that's primary safety is good law enforcement, and when you catch the bad guys, to have a place to lock them up. I know at our candidates forum that the Swansboro Area Chamber of Commerce held at the VFW in Cedar Point, you were part of that under the District 1 Commissioners Forum, but we had the two candidates for Carteret County Sheriff, Shane Guthrie and John Nyberg. Nyberg won the primary. And, I think it was Mr. Nyberg that brought up the point that, the capacity, it was over, the population was over capacity, and that they were sending, inmates out to neighboring jails. I think Onslow County receives, out of county inmates, for which the county that is over, populated or over their census pays that county. So Carteret would pay Onslow County a certain per diem. You're going to have a lot to look at, but that may be something to look at in the interim, before this whole new jail idea reaches fruition. It might be best to just, use neighboring counties' capacity if they have such capacity.
Yeah, I believe that's what they're doing right now, and I don't know exactly what the cost is, maybe $40, $50 a day per inmate. So it definitely adds up. So it's definitely something we need to address, either way, whether it's, we go with building at the location where they acquired the property, or in a different direction. But like you said, public safety is obviously a need across the county. And in that same candidates forum, you remember Mr. Nyberg mentioned, when you asked, I believe, the question, do you think the patrolling is adequate for the unincorporated areas mm-hmm. of the county? And he said no. So I think that's definitely something, and that's something that I've seen, living here and being involved, is the fact that, the sheriff's department do a great job, but we as the county need to have more of a focus on investing in the resources that they need, and whether that's hiring more deputies or just listening to the sheriff and fulfilling his requests.
Yeah, it's a long county. From point to point, maybe from Cedar Point, Swansboro down to sea level, you're talking probably 65 plus miles. And when I drive through Cape Carteret and Cedar Point, I'll probably see a Cape Carteret police patrol car, but it's I won't say unusual, but I don't see a lot of county patrol, because we're at the that area is at the end of the jurisdiction. That's something that the sheriff's office would have to look at, and going down into the municipalities, it may be a time when Cedar Point looks at fielding a police department.
Right. There's been conversations like that, I know, in various municipalities and everything like that. But I've also, in talking to voters during the campaign, they talked about the fact that there used to be a magistrate's office, a satellite magistrate's office in Cedar Point to make it more efficient for the officers. Instead of them having to carry an inmate all the way to Beaufort, they were able to stay here locally. And
hold that thought, Stephen. We're going to go to a break, but we'll continue with you after this break. We're talking with Stephen Overby, District 1 Carteret County Commissioner. He'll be on the ballot in November, but he will be sworn in December. He has no opponent. We'll be right back and continue the conversation with Stephen Overby.
Intelligent dialogue, entertaining discussions, that's what the Talk Station is all about. More talk, less music. This is the Talk Station, talking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The Talk Station, it's smart radio.
Appeals are coming. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. After a jury in Los Angeles found Meta and YouTube liable for negligence and failure to warn of potential harm, recommending each pay a share of $6 million in damages. Meta spokesperson Ashley Nicole Davis says they respectfully disagree with the verdict.
Teen mental health is profoundly complex and cannot be linked to a single app.
The jury siding with a now 20-year-old woman who accused the platforms of knowingly creating addictive products.
She's only known as Kaylee, or by her initials, KGM. She had claimed that the social media sites are addictive and damage her mental health, and accuses the companies of not doing enough to protect young users. Well, Facebook founder and Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg was a star witness at the trial. He testified that protecting young people was always a corporate priority.
Fox's Eric Shawn. Google, which owns YouTube, also plans to appeal, and like Meta, had emphasized efforts to safeguard users. Documents presented during the trial showed a targeting of preteens. TikTok and Snapchat were also named in the lawsuit and settled before the trial. Today's findings come one day on day 9 of deliberations and a day after Meta was found liable of misleading users and endangering children in a New Mexico case, one of many lawsuits targeting social media around the country. Iran's foreign minister says they do not plan on any negotiations with the U.S. White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt says talks continue.
Any violence beyond this point will be because the Iranian regime refused to understand they have already been defeated and refused to come to a deal.
She would not confirm details of a U.S. proposal that Iran reportedly rejected. House Speaker Mike Johnson says Homeland Security should be fully funded.
We will not allow Democrats to hold our airports and our country hostage so they can re-implement their catastrophic, deadly open borders policies.
This as each side blames the other for a stalled compromise that would fund agencies other than ICE to end a DHS shutdown. America is listening to Fox News.
It's tax. We're joined by Paul Pittman of Moorhead Motor Company. Paul, what's happening now in the car market?
Well, like what I'm seeing, prices creep back up on some used inventory. Used nice inventory is getting harder and harder to get, and I'm seeing dealers just pay more for it because of the high miles in the market. Every morning is something I do is get on and I check all the markets and all the auctions to be sure, you know, where we are. And looking at the Carfaxes and doing our studies and what we do before we buy vehicles, it's just the market's climbing. We've got some inventory that has been here a few days, and we're going to pass the deals on to the customers if they come in, and before these prices get too high where they were before, and I'm starting to see it drastically change.
A lot of the car manufacturers have been dedicated towards EVs, and now they're reversing that, and of course that's having an impact too.
Absolutely it is, and you know, we were still about 11 million cars behind in production, so it's gonna take a little time to get that caught up over time. Nice cars are hard to come by, but we got some.
You definitely do. At Moorhead Motor Company, next door to Lidl's there on Highway 70, right there near the intersection of Highway 24 and 70 in Moorhead City. And Paul, as you always like to say about selling cars?
Selling cars like candy bars.
Cecil Harvell at West Collins practice in all areas of civil law, including estate planning and estate-related matters, tax law, elder law, and asset protection, collections and foreclosures, corporate and business law, as well as civil trial practice in these and all other civil matters. Learn more online at harvellandcollins.com and call to arrange your free initial consultation at 252-726-9050 for the right advice at the right time. Call on Harvell and Collins, attorneys at law, 1107 Bridges Street in Moorhead City.
Hop in a John Deere Gator XUV for a day's work. Let's see what's on the to-do list. There goes the tree. And the fence. Not a problem. Because you've got a cargo box filled with solutions. Up to 4,000 pounds of towing capacity. And you're ready to roll.
The power's out!
Here we go again. The Gator XUV, built for every kind of workday. Learn more at johndeere.com/Gator XUV. Nothing runs like a deer.
Okay, that's out of my playlist. I don't know what that is. Ross, you can help me out on that one. Yes, I got chastised by Cindy Brown yesterday for not knowing the Cure song. Not a big fan of the Cure, and not sure about that either. Weapons of choice. Well, anyway, our guest of choice right now is Stephen Overby, District 1 Commissioner, Carteret County to be. He's got to get through the November election, but with no challenger. He will be sworn in December. Stephen, are you still with me out there?
Yes, sir. I'm still here.
I know one thing you can't fix as a county commissioner is the water in Carteret County, but one company that has been around for ages has the right elements to do that. I'm talking about Connecticut. The water softening, they've been around for decades here in Carteret County, and you should check them out. Connecticut Advanced Water Systems. They have the Connecticut Twin Tank Non-Electric System that's still, after all these years, Stephen, the only water softening system in the world without planned obsolescence. Imagine that, because of the Connecticut two-tank non-electric design. From Washington to Georgia and all points in between, you can rest assured that Connecticut has you covered. Call them today at 252-223-4444, and they'll set you up. Advanced Water Systems. You know, we were talking earlier. We're talking with Stephen Overby about the growth in Carteret County and what that's going to bring challenges to not only everybody that lives here, but the elected officials that are sworn to, see how all of that plays out. We talked about the jail and crime and roads. How does a county commissioner, work with state roads? Just by their name alone, they're governed by the North Carolina Department of Transportation. I would imagine commissioners have to have good relationships with state officials. How do you plan on doing that?
We definitely do, and of course, like you said, the roads, the major highways are state maintained, sanctioned by the North Carolina DOT. But we have a transportation committee at the county level that is comprised of elected officials throughout the county, traffic engineer and people like that. So we have that outlet to be able to advocate for our needs, our infrastructure needs here. And me personally, I know Representative Cairns pretty well, and I'm also friends with Representative Wyatt Gable in neighboring Onslow County. So just using those relationships to try to secure any funding that we need, because I know that the transportation, the DOT has a comprehensive plan for Carteret County, but a lot of the projects are not currently funded. So we kind of have to push hard to try to expedite those. So I'll be trying to do anything I can to make sure that those projects are funded and our roadways and public safety are number one priority.
I know that you have a strong both personal and working relationship with Representative Wyatt Gable from neighboring Onslow County, and I would say if I asked him who was instrumental in helping him get elected to his first term, he'd probably you'd be one of the top two people aside from his mother that helped him at the polls and helped him in the campaign. Another individual that I think is probably would speak very highly of you is the new mayor of Morehead City, Lee Stiles. How did you two get together and work together for his mayoral race?
So I actually met Lee Stiles in 2014 playing basketball.
Okay.
He was actually 2 years out of prison. He was working as a dishwasher at I can't remember if it was Olive Garden or Longhorn's restaurant in Morehead City. Mm-hmm. And since that, he went back to school, he got his education, and, he got really involved in the community. He started a nonprofit to kind of help, recovering addicts. And, him and I had a conversation about, I said, hey, man, you're a really good speaker. You want to serve the community and do the right things. You should get involved in politics. And he said, well, I don't know anything about politics. So we spent hours. I call myself a political nerd, so we spent hours talking, and he filed for office, and I kind of laid out a blueprint for him, and he won his city council race in 2023, and then he went on to win the mayor's race against a longtime 26-year incumbent in 2025, and I was very humbled at his swearing-in ceremony. During his mayoral remarks, he said that Lee Stiles as mayor wouldn't be possible without Stephen Overby, and that really meant a lot. I didn't do it for the credit. I did it because I saw someone who I know would be good for the community, and he has been, and I'm really proud of him.
How do you look at a map of a district, whether it's your District 1 in western Carteret County or the entire county itself, and determine where you're going to hit areas now for voters to get the vote out or to get your message across to potential voters? How do you meet people without giving away too much of the store? What's a strategy for someone like yourself? Now, you were involved in elected politics in Pelletier for the council. You won a race. I think you were the top vote getter in that race several years ago, and you served 13 years and then resigned. But
13 months.
13 months. Sorry, 13 years. 13 months. How do you look at an area, a district, and attack it and try to become the winner?
It's all about looking at voting trends. I mean, everybody doesn't vote, which is unfortunate. People are, very apathetic. So when you look at an election, you have to really break it down to see who's going to vote in a municipal election versus a primary or a general election. And I just kind of develop a game plan to go from there and meet the citizens that are most likely to vote. And that's kind of how I've done it and been pretty successful at it so far. And yeah, it's one of those things where you just have to put in the work, right? It just takes a lot of work sometimes, but if you're determined enough, you can get it done.
Yeah, so how old are you? You're a young guy. You're 30 what?
37.
And so when you're sworn in December, there's going to be a lot of men around you that look like me. I'm 64, so it's an older crowd. Will you be the youngest? You'll be the youngest commissioner, but as far as history goes, are you one of the youngest county commissioners ever?
I'm not sure in history. I know when I take office in December, I'm 99% sure I will be the youngest elected official in Carteret County, yes.
Well, and then when Wyatt Gable was elected, he was still in college. I believe he had just turned 21 or 22, so he's got you by a few years. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is he's a young guy. He's a really young guy. You're a young guy. How do you get young people engaged in the political process? You seem to have, I've known you for several years. You enjoy politics. You're good at it. You know the past and, you plan for the future, so to speak. But, how can we get the younger generation, folks that are a few years younger than you or your age engaged in the political process?
It's really the issues. And I think most people my age, just don't get involved in politics because most of them are working and raising families and they've got other hobbies beyond politics. Politics has always been kind of my hobby, right? So that's kind of why I'm involved in it. But like I said, attacking the issues that matter to young families, like I think it's parks and recreation, right? Like they've got kids playing baseball, softball, soccer, those kind of things. And like I talked about in the open, the athletic fields are kind of overcrowded. We need to expand them, and so we need to hear their concerns. And when we do things and get them involved in that, and they feel like their voices are heard, maybe we'll have more community engagement. And that would be great if we saw that.
Yeah, and like you said, it's the families we're in a growth cycle here in Carteret County, and for that matter across the river in Onslow County as well. So families are moving in here, young families, not to mention that the retirees are coming here. So you got both spectrums. I know typically during early voting, it's an older demographic that comes out to the polls, and you probably saw that. Go ahead.
And I do want to say something in regards to this year's budget, and this relates to citizens with young families, with kids in the schools. We've actually seen across the county, not so much in the western end. We're growing pretty fast down here, but the enrollment in the schools has actually declined from last year to this year. Mm-hmm. So the school board actually met a couple days ago, and they were going over their budget. They had a budget workshop, and they're going to lose about 16 positions, I think, state-funded positions, because they're going to lose something that's called, average daily membership, I think is what it's called. And it's basically positions that are funded based on student enrollment. So they're going to ask the county commissioners in this budget season to fund, I think, at least 7 of those 16 positions. Wow. So that's going to increase the request. I think last year the county commissioners gave the school board $31 million, and I think this year, with health insurance costs included for employees and the seven employees included in that, I think they're going to request like $34 million.
Yeah, so you're going to
be interesting to see how that's going to be worked out.
I know you'll be watching it from the front row, but you'll miss this year's budget cycle because they have to adopt the budget by July 1st. But come July, after July and December when you're sworn in, then it'll be in your seat. You can see it from the dais, working on the what would that be, the 27-28 fiscal year budget. It'll be here before you know it. Speaking of dais and your commissioner meetings, they're held in Beaufort, and as I said earlier, it's a long county. 65 plus miles, and the meetings take place in Beaufort. What would the chances be of having commissioner meetings, or for that matter, just town halls, out in the western portion of the county?
Well, I definitely want to adopt something like, they have coffee with a cop. I mean, I would love to do coffee with a commissioner or something. Sure. Have town halls here, quarterly or something. But I definitely think that's something to look into to partner with, say, Cape Carteret, Cedar Point, Emerald Isle, and have at least an informal workshop, quarterly or semi-annually, across the county. So citizens that live in the far western end of the county don't have to drive 45 minutes to Beaufort to go to a meeting to see what's going on in their county.
I think if you put it in somebody's backyard, figuratively speaking, they would come out for it. And there's plenty of venues, them, in the western part of the county, both on the island and in Cape C and in Cedar Point, that could hold such a forum from time to time. I think that'd be great, and it would include, bring the people in this portion of the county, the western portion of the county, out there to see you guys live. It's, you can see it on YouTube, you can see it recorded, but it's different when you're in person. We've got about, 30 seconds or so. Steve, if you want to wrap it up, if you want to say anything to your supporters.
I just want to say thank you to, everybody that voted for me. Thank you to, all my supporters and friends that work the polls, with me. And, when I take the oath of office, in December and end with So Help Me God, it'll be one of the greatest honors of my life to serve the citizens of Carteret County, and I'm really humbled.
Very good. Thank you, Stephen, for taking time to talk with us today on McHugh Points. Stephen Overby, District 1 Commissioner for Carteret County. Coming up next after the break, we'll be talking to Andy Shorter, the director of the airport in New Bern, and he'll be